It's a lot easier to get the Wi-Fi signal over here. Okay, I'm going to, while you guys are getting your coffee, and I will start the sponsors, but Alan has raised a question. What is the, so far, what is the attendance going towards the Siyum?
Who asked that question?
I'm asking the question.
It's very schwach. You could say part of it is because of Yeshiva week, part of it is because people are not going. So if we don't have enough people, we will officially announce tomorrow night. We'll try to have a Siyum right after the daf on the next week.
And how,
have a breakfast, have a breakfast.
we'll have a breakfast, somebody
Yeah,
will,
Yeah.
those who wish to participate
Right.
will kick in. I'll find out this morning how much boxes that they had last Sunday.
yeah, I mean, from the bagel place.
Right.
Right.
And then we'll have those, for those who wish to participate.
Okay, that, I'm sure it will be, I'm sure it will be less than $30, and therefore you might get a few
Well,
more
you
people.
get your money back.
Well,
Well,
but I'm just saying,
get that money
that,
back.
that box is less than $30
And
per
also-
So
person.
your box is probably five. I don't
No,
wanna
it's
make
not
up the
five.
number.
It's not $5.
Why
I
not?
can tell you.
$10.
No, it's gonna be more.
Yeah, whoa,
I know what it is compared to the lunch and learn amount. And the Maish has been paying more for those than what I have to pay through the lunch and learns.
What
All
if
right, whatever. Where did you get them at lunch and learn?
What?
Where do you?
Jark,
Where?
Jark.
No, you don't want to go to
No, I don't know.
Jog. That was in the old days. Don't go to
No,
Jog.
they can
We
provide.
went to Jog for years before you came.
So you go for the Gebele case,
Go
but it's
to the
still gonna
bagel
cost
place.
more.
Mordechai has to contact.
I'll talk to him and when he tells me how much, I'll say
And
that.
anyway, Rabbi Green, you'll be able to be here in the morning.
That's
Yes.
true. I'd be there in the afternoon too, but not for the whole
We'll
afternoon.
be able to partake in the food. Tell them
Okay,
why.
okay. All right, the learning sponsorships, Year of Learning, Friends of Marcy Kurtz, in memory of a great niece, Leah Bracha, Isaac and Evelyn Blachor, in memory of his sister, Chaya Rachel Bas Isser. Friends of Leonie Meiselman, Leah Sabra Bas Chanach Zundel. We've got 2 months of learning by the Friends of Milton Miller in honor of his second bar mitzvah. A month of learning by B. Pizer in memory of her sister Rivka Bas Avra Michal Halevi. Mendel and David Cheslow are sponsoring in memory of her father Nehemiah ben Mordechai Yonah Halevi. And Haran and Mel Haller in memory of her mother Malka Rachel Bas Yehuda Leib. Yossi Goldstein in memory of his father Moshe Tzvi ben Dov. Isaac and Eda Novick in memory of his mother Miriam Gittel Bas Chanoch Henoch. We have a week of learning by Clara and Jonas Wazer, in memory of her father Moshe ben Yisrael HaKohen, by Mira and Herschel Sennett, in memory of her mother Shosha Bas Avram Alevi, and his mother Rachel Bat Yitzchak Yaakov. Anita and Morris Kornblit and Leora and Lee Weinberg, in memory of their dear friend and teacher Rabbi Dr. Ron Bronner, Rav Yerachmiel ben Shmuel Yosef. Oscar and Shelley Mole, in memory of his father Shlomo ben Yitzchak and his mother Rachel Bas Naftali. Judith and Michael Poretsky, in memory of her father Yaakov Yitzchak ben Hirsch Feivel. And today we have a day of learning as well by Bernice Plitnik, in memory of her mother Yita Bat Simcha. And Hashem is having Aliyah, Crank Rafir Velti Yashir Hashem Atliah, and L'chol B'nai Israel a good Gaben Shtiach. Okay, all right. Okay, so we are going to start in a moment on Pei Dalet Amud Aleph. Okay. Okay, so as we finished up the bottom of the previous Amud, okay, this discussion about what's the status of the Leket, Shechacha, and Peah as food available for this woman. Okay, and the Gemara there finished up. Matam ein yichol hafem mipnei sheyicholah lahayanot b'leket shichacha upeya. However, Rav Nachman says le'olam ba'al lav bichlal briyotu. Again, arguing that the husband was not a real person, or not included in people in general, so to speak. Okay, Vahachi Katani, and this is what he means, says Rav Nachman, Nitgarsha, once she's divorced, Yechola Leonot Boleket Shichacha Upei. So we start off with a challenge by Rava to Rav Nachman on the top of the Amud, okay, whether we're still talking about the status of the husband. Eitive, okay, as we start Pei Dalet Amud Aleph, he says, Rava the Rav Nachman, Ubal Lav Bichlal Briotu. Are you really saying that the husband is not included regarding the vow when she said she's not going to benefit from people in general? Vahatnan. But haven't we learned elsewhere in another Mishnah? Okay, Unetula ani min haYehudim, that when the woman says that I am removed from all, we're going to say male Jews here, implying that she will not have benefited all from relations with any male Jews, right? It's what that in that particular Mishnah we learned Yefer Chelko Utehei Misham Shato, that he may nullify or abrogate, revoke basically his part of the vow, but okay, and have relations with her. Utehei Netula Min HaYehudim, but for all others, okay, which would imply that even when she would be divorced, then the vow would still go back into effect or continue in effect, basically, and therefore not be able to have relations with any other. Okay, right? Okay, so what would happen? V'amart bal lav bichlal briotu, and if you're going to argue that the husband is not included among this issue of other men, okay, nidrei inui nefesh hein. Isn't that an example of a vow that reflects self-affliction? Okay, via fair la olam, and therefore, if were that to be the case, okay, certainly by the Rabbanan, their view was that that vow would be revoked completely, forever, ongoing. Emelach. So I might say to you the following. This is Rav Nachman's response back to Rava's challenge, right? Shani hachi, the situation is different here. Why? Demuchacha milta da'al hatara ka'asra nafsha. Why? Because we have clear proof here, okay, that this is something, okay, that was permitted, and she chose to basically make it a prohibition on herself. That's the situation. Now we go on. Okay, so we're about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down for those who may have just come in. Okay, on Pei Dalet. Yichola lehanot b'leket shichacha upeya. What about the fact that our Mishnah spelled out that she could benefit from leket shichacha and peya? Okay, clearly, if we said in our discussion that had she gathered it herself, there wouldn't be a problem. It's basically the question is whether it was the husband who gathered and brought it to her. That was where we saw in the text that the argument was that that was not viable. Okay, velo katani ubam. What if the husband gathered? If he's not included among the other people, right?
Well, of course, she just made a neder. I won't eat any. Whatever. Go back.
Right. Okay. So the Gemara is going to now raise this question about how come our Mishnah simply stated leket shichacha opeya, okay, and did not include something else in that statement, namely maaser ani. Okay, Art Scroll has an extensive note, by the way, there, if you need to review it, on what the structure is in the 7-year cycle, when you give this, when you give that, okay, so on and so forth. Okay. But what happens? Below katani ubamaaser ani, but it excluded in that list of items that by which she might feed her, provide herself sustenance, maaser ani. Vahatanya babraita, but haven't we learned elsewhere in a braita the following? Ubamaasar ani, and regarding maaser ani, right? Amar Rav Yosef, he says, lo kasha, okay? Ha Rabbi Eliezer, ha Rabbanan. Namely, what he's arguing, Rabbi Yosef, is that it's not a problem in this issue. Why? Because the Braita follows Rabbi Eliezer, whereas the Mishnah follows the Chachamim. Okay, T'tnan, as we learn the following, okay? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Ein Adam Tzarich Lekrot Shem Al Maaser Ani Shel Demai, that a person does not have to, I'm going to say in this case, even orally declare it as, okay, in other words, a certain amount of produce as Maaser Ani from his untithed produce. Right?
Since the mai is a suffix, the people can't take it anyway, because let's say make a room in a right. And you could argue, well, maybe it's already happened. So all you do is point to a little bit and say, I'm calling that
Maaser Ani.
Meiser, I'm calling that
Yeah.
Meiser shame. And then you can eat it yourself. You don't
Right.
even have to take it out of
Right.
the pile.
That was the,
So here, Rebbe Eliezer is saying, when it comes to Meiser Oni, you do not even have to point to a spot and say that's Meiser Oni.
right.
You just ignore it.
that Art Scroll gave the same argument, gave the same explanation. Personally, I didn't like it, okay?
Well, I mean, that's,
Because I didn't see the emphasis on a motzi mechavero alav harayim.
well,
Okay,
why would you lay?
okay,
Well, you're gonna see that Rebbe Eliezer
we're gonna see
gives
that,
the woman to take.
well, that's what we're gonna get to that, right?
Because he said that have to designate it. Once
That's
you
the
can
issue.
all right.
That's the issue, that's why I said I didn't like that particular explanation. Okay, v'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, right, korei shem ve'ein tzarich lahafrish. Their argument is, yes, you do have to orally designate it, okay, but you don't have to physically separate that produce as maaser ani. Okay, so see the difference between the two. The earlier statement, Rabbi Eliezer says, you barely have to do anything, okay? Maybe you could point to it, right? Or maybe not even that. So what happens? My love, what are we saying then? Wasn't it not the following view? In other words, what is the essential argument between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim in this case? Lama and Damar Sfeiko, okay, according to the one who says that Demai, because of its questionable status, Toveil, okay, one must still do some sort of tithing act, okay,
Take it out of
right? To remove it from its questionable status. Kasavar, why? Because he's of the view, it lay tovat hana'ah, because one who does the act therefore has, let's say, the value of benefit granting. Okay,
when he gives it away.
okay, because he can choose to whom he wants to designate that tithe. Okay? V'kevan de'idle tovat hana'ah, and since he has this benefit of giving, of gratitude, right? Lo mahanya. Okay, therefore, okay, he may not give it to that woman necessarily, and therefore, person cannot benefit from it. Ulaman da'amar. Okay, and according to the, and this is now referring, that was Rabbi Eliezer's view.
No, that was the Rabbanan.
No, now we get to the Rabban.
No,
Ulaman da'amar ain't no koreshem.
that's Rabbi Eliezer who says you
Do not have to even say it. Okay, so now that we get to Rabbi Eliezer, right?
How does anybody else know about her vow?
Right? We don't think so.
How does anyone know about her vow?
We don't know.
What?
How does anyone else, Steve wants to, how does anyone else know about the vow?
Because the women all go to the pool.
Okay, we don't know.
So it's the vow of Lashon Hara.
Right. Okay, so Damar, so that's why I said the Eno, but that's the question of the Lashon there because of the Eno. Otherwise, you read a Damar Koreshem, which would be the rabbinic.
The Rabbanan, but they put in the Ein.
Yeah, I see. That's a question of Girsa.
You have to say this is Rabbi Eliezer, or what, or else you'd be forced to say the first was Rabbi Eliezer, and that can't be.
Okay, anyway, the right Koreshem, Kasavar is of the opinion, Sfeiko ain't no tovin. That even though it's demai and there's a doubt, a question is its status, one does not tithe. The chos shesefeiko ain't no tovel. And where there is a doubt and one doesn't tithe, lit le tovas hana'ah, then there is no opportunity or no status privilege, let's say privilege for the moment, of saying that one has the value, the benefit of gratitude there, all right? All right, so what happens? And therefore, in that situation, what could be that the person who is the owner of that produce could declare it hefker. Then they could make themselves, okay, declare themselves an ani, and then they can just chop it up all themselves.
I don't know what's
V'shari
the lady
le'let
who made the vow. Since there's no Tovas Hana, she
Right.
can go and take it.
right, yes, but
That's
the
Rabbi
point
Eliezer.
that, but yes, but v'shari, and it's permitted lay for him to be able to benefit from it, right? But what could happen, okay, is that the fellow who, what he can do is declare it then hefker, and then he can declare all his property garnished, and then pick it all up himself,
That would be according to the Rabbanan.
right?
But according to Rabbi Eliezer.
So now we're gonna get,
When-
yeah, but now we're gonna get into the argument between what happens further. Amarle, okay, says, Abai challenges this, okay? The kuli ama sfeiko tavel. No, everybody basically agrees that even with this demai, you do have to make some sort of time. V'Rabbi Eliezer v'Rabbanan, b'hakamiflaget. This is really what they're arguing about. Rabbi Eliezer savar lo nechshadu amei haaretz al ma'aser ani. That Rabbi Eliezer holds that in regards to the third and sixth years, where you have to take ma'aser ani instead of ma'aser sheni, that people are good about the am haaretz, even those who are not knowledgeable, we'll
Just says
translate
they
to them,
take truma,
okay?
they-
because they're good about taking truma, they're good about wanting to do something for the poor, and so therefore they will remember to take. Kevan de elu mafker nichse v'have ani, but therefore there one could make his property hefker, okay? And what happens? He becomes poor. V'shekale, and he shekal lehu, and he can then take it back. Lit le psida, and therefore he has no losses. Okay? V'Rabbanan sabli, okay? But the rabbis, so that would have been Rabbi Eliezer's. Rabbanan Savre, but the rabbis are of the opinion, Nichse lo mafker inish, that a person normally does not totally give up all of their properties, their belongings. Demir tat, right? Since he has to do that announcement of Hefker before 3 people, who's to say that one of those others aren't going to beat him to the act of making the claim on that property once he makes it Hefker? Dilma zachi baho ini shacharina, that perhaps another person is going to be zocher and take that property, right? Hilkach nechshadu, and therefore the rabbis felt, okay, it's a suspect. Okay, Rabba Omer, says Rabba, kan b'maser ani hamitchalek b'toch habayit. Here, when we says Rabba, what we're talking about is 2 different occasions. I'll use that way. Okay, as to when maaser ani may be taken and distributed. Okay, in one case, we're saying that he separated called it, okay, maaser ani, but did so within his general household. Okay, b'toch habayit, the ketiva bei netina. Why? Because they can base that argument on the pasuk that says v'natata lelevi v'lager v'gomer. Okay, that you give it, and then in that rest of that pasuk includes the ani. So giving it means what I've said. Okay, this is maaser ani, and therefore whoever's comes to my home, okay, I give it to them that way. Okay, all right. Mishum hachi asur le'itnuye. As a result, okay, he has, so to speak, benefit of hana'ah, okay, and therefore that woman would not be able to benefit from the maaser ani, because who's to say that she's going to come to that house and that even then he's going to give it to her? Okay, kan b'maaser ani hamitchalek b'toch hagranot. On the other hand, at a different time of the year, okay, we distribute the maaser ani directly from the granaries. Therefore, anyone can come and claim that they're poor, so long as they can prove their status that they're poor, right? Kevan dichtiv bei, why? Because it's written there in that pasuk, vehenachta b'sha'arecha. And in that case, regarding the woman, share le anoye, it's permissible then for her to benefit even then from the maaser ani. Okay, now we go on to the next part of our Mishnah, where we said clearly that if the woman made the vow that Kohanim and Leviim would not benefit from her, the Mishnah said they can take it from her. Okay, if she said these Kohanim and Leviim, okay, then those in the particular Kohanim and Leviim cannot, okay, but other Kohanim and Leviim could do so. Okay, so that's where we're picking up.
This is a man or a woman, not just the.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone making such a vow. Right. But just come back to the woman's status because that was what the Mishnah was originally discussing. Kohanim Leviim nehanim li yitlu chule. In other words, they will take it, right? Okay. Or otherwise it goes to Achim. Alma, therefore, Tovat Hana'ah Eina Mamon. This would seem to tell us that the benefit of bestowing that a tithe is not of major financial value. Okay, that would be one translation. Okay, Art Scroll translated it as equity. Okay, I'm not sure I like that translation.
You can't put a price on it. You
Okay.
can't quantify the value.
Right, Ema Sefer. I might say, though, look at the end of our Mishnah. There it clearly said, Kohanim Elu V'leviim elu nehanimli, where the person making the vow, okay, said, these Kohanim, these Leviim will not benefit from it. Yitlu achirim, namely other Kohanim and Leviim may get it, right? So what happens? Says the Gemara, aval lahani lo, but for these, in other words, the ones she had either in mind or she spelled, or he or she spelled out their name, okay, no, they cannot. Alma, therefore this would tell us, tovat hana'ah mamon, that there is some sort of benefit or financial value, okay? Because if you choose, let's say I choose, I'm going to pick on Sid for the moment, okay? If I choose to make sure my truma goes to Sid, I'm going to expect some quid pro quo, some benefit in, likewise, okay? That's the implication of saying that the tovas hana'ah is a mamon, okay? All right? Amar Rav Hoshaya, says Rav Hoshaya, lo kasha. No, there's no real problem, difficulty here. Ha Rebbe, one is the view of Rebbe, Vaha Rabbi Yossi b'Rebbe Yehuda, and the other is the view of Rabbi Yossi b'Rebbe Yehuda. Tanya, as we learn elsewhere in another bright. Hagonev tivlo shel chavero va'achlo, one who steals the tevel, the untithed produce of his neighbor, and he eats it. What's the status? Mishalem lo demei tivlo. He must pay him the financial value of that produce. Divrei Rebbe, that's the view of Rebbe. Rabbi Yossi b'Rebbe Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yossi b'Rebbe Yehuda, however, tells us, Eino mishalem ela demei chulin sheba. No, since we said that it's tevel, in other words, it's produce that is a combination. Some of it is tithed, some of it is not tithed, and what's not tithed is the chulin. All he has to pay back, okay, is the amount that he could have eaten, which was the non-truma portion. Okay, that is the case. So that's why Rabbi Yossi b'Rebbe Yehuda is saying he has to pay the demei chulin. So the Gemara then asks, "My love b'hakimiflagei, isn't this what it's arguing about?" And we'll go over just a little bit on the top of Pei Hey. The Rebbe Savar Tovat Hana'am Mamon, that Rebbe must be of the opinion that the benefit of granting that tithe is a financial value. Rabbi Yossi b'Rebbe Yehuda Savar Tovat Hana'ah Einam Mamon. And does Rabbi Yossi b'Rebbe Yehuda hold that that's not the case? Okay. Lo, the Kuli Oma Tovat Hana'ah Eino Mamon. Okay, that's where we're going to pause there, because we'll pick up tomorrow. Elahachi b'matnot, etc. We'll deal with that tomorrow. What? Yeah. All right, everybody, have a good day. Just a reminder about the special program this afternoon at 2:00.